Hello! I am very excited because in a couple of days' time, finally, the 5th installment of the Lightbringer series is going to get published, and I'm really looking forward to ordering and getting my signed copy of The Blinding White, the last issue of the series. However, today's video is not going to be about the Lightbringer series, it's going to be about the Night Angel Trilogy, Brent Weeks' first trilogy. Welcome to another episode of Amazing Worlds. And so, to the review of the Night Angel series, which is made up of Book 1, The Way of the Shadows, Book 2, Shadow's Edge, and Book 3, Beyond the Shadows. Now, I've got really fond memories of this series. I read it many years ago. Probably I was in my 20s still, when I had got a little bit fed up of fantasy literature. For me, I was very heavily into the Dungeons and Dragons, Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, Lord of the Rings type of literature, and I guess I had grown up a little bit at the time, and fond as I am of Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms, it was a little bit childish, and I had gone off it. And on a trip to Italy one summer, I saw this. The cover sort of got me excited. The fact that it was white instead of your usual black, and I liked the blurb around it. I picked it up because, by the look of things, the main character seemed to be an assassin rather than your usual magician or superhero. So I thought it would be a little bit different. And I was not disappointed. I really enjoyed Book 1, read it on the trip, and as soon as I got back, I got the next two books. So very grateful to Brent Weeks because he got me back into fantasy literature. And it's not a series I would recommend for young readers or people in their teens. I mean, it takes you to some dark places. It's done tastefully, as much as you can do certain things tastefully. But I suppose what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't recreate itself in the gory details, but there is rape, there is child abuse, there's some really twisted, messed up scenes, if I remember correctly, in Book 2, which is quite gruesome. So I think definitely the books take a turn for the darker and more suitable for a slightly more mature audience, which maybe is what I liked it, and maybe says something about my personality, I don't know. But The Way of the Shadows is the overarching title for the series, and like every good fantasy series, you've got your maps in there, you've got your funky names to try to get your head around, and thoroughly enjoyable throughout. I mean, the main character is likable, relatable, everything you want for. He's not perfect, which is great. He goes through the hero's journey, which obviously makes for the basic premise of any fantasy writing, which is well done, well crafted. The secondary characters are possibly even more interesting, and they go through their own journeys, and it's quite nice to see that happen. And some of them that in Book 1 can be quite hideous and quite antagonistic, you end up rooting for them later on. The series ends in a bombastic, huge final battle finale, which is very rewarding and exciting, so it does deliver on that premise as well. Magic system is interesting to say the least. I'm not going to go into details on how to explain it. I read the books years ago, but basically magicians as such are not like your traditional wizards casting spells. People have, if you're a magician, you've got something called a talent, and that is composed of three things, because Not only do you have to have the talent, but you have to have the capacity to fill up or refill your store of magic. So some people don't have that, so they can only use magic once. And then the people that have got that capacity to restore magic, then they can use it in different ways. And then you've got your opposing evil enemy empire, who have got their own slight twisted take on the magic system, which is a little bit darker, which makes them more powerful, but there's a higher price to pay for that, and it makes for a nice confrontation going on there. So that was really good. In terms of world building, and this is my perhaps my only gripe with Brent Weeks and his style of writing, which I also encountered in the Lightbringer series. Brent Weeks, I think, and I can see why he's doing it, he's trying to avoid description and exposition and writing paragraphs of having to explain how his world works or what some things are. So he kind of assumes that when he describes something as being the typical whatever person from this land, that you've got a picture in your head, but the problem is we don't. That picture only exists in Brent's head. And I found that frustrating in his writing, because I don't know what he actually meant. Or maybe he would describe it as he was introducing it, but in a way that made you think that you had to be familiar with it, which I found irritating, because how am I meant to know what this person is meant to look like, or whether they've got dark skin or whether they don't, or if their eyes are shaped in a certain way or they are a certain color. Because it's the first time that we've been introduced to this world, and as I said, he did that in the Lightbringer series as well, and that irritated me a little bit. But putting that aside, world building is rich and is well done, if not perhaps well introduced. Characters are fantastic, really good fantasy characters in the Night Angel Trilogy. Plot is good, secondary characters fantastic, they add a rich palette of themes and ideas and adventures to go on there. The main character that we follow is not necessarily the main protagonist of all the events happening in the confrontation between the two opposing factions in the series, but that doesn't detract from it at all, because he goes through his own battles and his own journey. A lot of weird sounding words made up just for the world. Not a problem if you're used to things or books like Lord of the Rings and things like that, where they draw heavily on creating their own languages. Obviously not to the level of rich detail that Lord of the Rings goes into, but for me at the time it was like, oh, okay, so there's other people trying to do different things and coming up with their own language. So it was definitely really exciting to read this, and after Night Angel I got into other series and carried on reading fantasy books, which I kind of left a bit to the side a few years ago. So really recommended. Do give it a read, subscribe, leave your comments, let me know what you think. Really excited for the final installment of the Lightbringer series coming in a couple of days time. I will probably be ordering my copy soon, and hopefully we'll give it a read. It'll probably be after the new year, and I will be giving an overall review of the Lightbringer series in the next few months or so. Again, subscribe, let me know what you think. Hope you have a good time, and I'll see you in the future. Bye.